without words. Thank you. Thank you. Now, a couple of observations before we go farther. A couple of observations. First of all, you know why he didn't play that funky music like this. The reason he didn't play it is because he knows I dance worse than I play soccer. So let's just get that clear. Second thing, Pastor Evans, well, I'm sure glad he asked you to lead that hymn instead of me. That was fabulous. And you know, I was trying to put my finger on it because down at the cross, that's in our hymn book too. And for some reason, it doesn't sound like that. And we've got fabulous musicians in our church, so I sat up here praying, oh Lord, give me some clarity about what it sound like, and I figured it out. I figured it out. We don't sing in B flat. I'm not kidding y'all, that was really bothering me. I'm glad I got that in hand. That was really Thank y'all for letting us do this. Isn't this fabulous? I am so grateful for Pastor Maxwell. He's already shared with you that we come from the same home city. We come from the same home county. Good gracious. When he was an assistant principal, he knew friends of mine that worked in the school system in DeKalb County. We are brothers in Christ.
Amen.
We are brothers in the call of one body and one fellowship, regardless of skin color, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of language, regardless of where you came from. That is, we're brothers in that. And we are brothers. We're also brothers in the deep sorrows of life.
Yes, sir.
The deep sorrows like watching our Atlanta Falcons.
I know that.
We are Osaos, yes indeed. We are brothers, we are brothers. And we look forward to our congregations being brothers and sisters with us as well. We're so grateful for this. And Colossian Baptist and First Baptist Morrison, thank y'all for being here tonight. I want to echo what Maxwell said. Thank y'all for being willing to stand up. Change ain't easy, amen? It ain't easy. Thank y'all for being willing to do that. What a gift tonight is. May the grace and the peace of Jesus be with all of us.
Yes.
As we look at the Word together. Now, we come to worship tonight, and Thanksgiving's just a few short days away.
Yes.
And you know what we do at Thanksgiving, right?
Yes.
We eat.
Yes.
We eat. Now, growing up at the Shepley house, when my parents were still married, and we had a great time together in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Amen.
Amen.
We had a great time together, and we oftentimes, like your houses, I'm sure, all sorts of folks from family. Man, folks we didn't even know were family came in today. They'd come in and eat. My mom and a few other folks would make a great feast. You know, they got the turkey together, they got the dressing, they got the rolls from some can, and they got the turnips from some can. My mama did the best she could, y'all. And we just had a great feast together and all that sort of things. There was one problem with our Thanksgiving. The table was never big enough. The table was never big enough. You know what that meant for us kids? That's right, there it was. We had the card table. You got it. We had to sit at the kids' table. We had to sit at the kids' table. The parents pushed us all into the room with the kids' table, ran out real quick, shut the deadbolt, and wouldn't let us out. We had to eat at the kids' table. Every year I'd say, Mama, when, oh Lord, is my time? When do I get to eat at the adult table? Not yet, son. Not yet. You have to be old enough. Because sometimes you're not ready for the table.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Sometimes it's hard to get told you don't belong.
That's right.
One of my favorite parables of Jesus is a table story.
Yes.
My folks have heard me preach on this one often because that's one of the things about preachers. We tend to go to our favorites sometimes.
Yes.
Don't we? It's a story about a table. It's a table where people are left out. But they're not left out because they had to go to the kids' table.
All right now.
They're left out because they didn't meet certain spiritual and cultural status levels that were imposed and told they were gods in positions.
Yeah.
They were status levels that were claimed to be a connection with God.
All right,
Instead, they were actually a connection with people's own prejudice.
Yes, sir.
And so people were not allowed to eat at the table. And this parable, unfortunately, is not the last time that God's law was used to keep people apart instead of keep people together.
Yes, sir.
Would you hear the word of the Lord with me from Luke's Gospel? I believe it is tradition to stand as we hear the Gospel reading. So we can stand with me as we read Luke chapter 14, 15 through 24. When one of those at the table with him heard this, he said to Jesus, "Blessed is the man who will eat at the feast in the kingdom of God."
Yes, sir.
Jesus replied, "A certain man was preparing a great banquet, and he invited many guests. At the time of the banquet, he sent a servant to tell those who had been prepared, 'Come, for everything is ready.' But they all alike began to make excuses. The first said, 'I've just bought a field and I must go see it. Please excuse me.' Another said, 'I've just bought 5 yoke of oxen and I'm on my way to try them out. Please excuse me.' Still another said, 'I just got married so I can't come.'"
Yeah.
That's my favorite one, by the way. The servant came back and reported this to his master. Then the owner of the home became angry and ordered his servant, "Go out quickly into the streets and alleys of the town and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame." "Sir," the servant said, "what you ordered has been done, but there is still room." Then the master told his servant, "Go out to the woods and the country lanes and make them come in so that my house will be full. I tell you, not one of those who were invited will get a taste of my banquet." May the Lord bless the hearing and the receiving of His word as we proclaim it together. Amen.
Yes. Hallelujah.
I want to set the scene here of this story. Interestingly enough, you ever notice how this happens? When you're at a meal with good friends, you end up talking about food. You ever notice how that happens? Man, these chicken and dumplings are fabulous. Do you remember those chicken and dumplings we had that time 5 years ago? Oh man, that meal was great. Do you remember when you end up talking about food at a banquet? Jesus is at this banquet at the Pharisee's house, and they end up talking about food. And Jesus, you have to look back a little bit further, tells them some etiquette for banquets. He tells them, you know, instead of going in and finding the best seat next to the master, he says, go find the lousiest seat you can.
Yeah.
And then that way when the master comes in and says, "Friend, what are you doing sitting down there? Come on up." Rather than saying, "Hey friend, you thought a little too highly of yourself, didn't you?
Yeah.
You need to move on down." Jesus is telling them these rules, and he's making this crew of Pharisees a little bit uncomfortable. Because you see, the Pharisees, well, they had status. They had status that they had conferred on themselves. They had conferred on themselves that they were the spiritual elite of Judaism. And they were elite because they kept the law better than anyone else. And that elitism had trickled into every area of their lives so that they would not even come close or touch or speak to someone of lower status than them.
Amen.
Which was everybody. So they had this banquet for just them, and they had invited Jesus. And Jesus had the nerve to tell them to invite people to their banquet, to their parties, who did not fit the spiritual categories that they had constructed.
Yes.
And so while all this uncomfortable chatter had happened and the room had gotten very quiet, the man that we read about right at the beginning of the story, to break the tension, raises his glass and says, "Blessed be all who eat one day in the kingdom of God."
Yes. Hallelujah.
But guess what he meant? He said, what he meant was, blessed are the people like me and my friends who are going to eat one day in the kingdom of God. Jesus doesn't miss much, does he? Jesus knew what was in this man's heart.
Yes. Yes.
And as he raised this glass, looking around at his friends and saying, thank you, God, that we are the good people. Thank you, God, that we are the people that act right. Thank you, God, that we are the people that are beautiful in your sight and do not do wrong things like all these other people do.
Big set.
Jesus said, let me tell you the story. Let me tell you a story.
Yes, Lord.
And this story, he tells us, goes back to the ancient feast that the Israelites had celebrated, the Feast of Booths, Feast of Unleavened Bread, all those feasts. And you see, there's something about all those feasts that we have to remember. I'm going to read just a couple of verses from Deuteronomy 10, 17 through 19, where it says this. The Lord your God is a God of gods and the Lord of lords, the great God, mighty and awesome, who shows no partiality and accepts no bribes. He defends the cause of the fatherless and the widow and loves the alien. By the way, those are not folks from outer space. Do we remember, right?
Yes.
These are folks who speak different languages than us and live in other places than us.
Amen.
Who loves the alien, giving him food and clothing. And you are to love those who are aliens because you yourself were aliens in Egypt. What this tells us about the early feast of the people of Israel, where those feasts were the invitations to those feasts were given not just to the people that God had chosen, but they were opened up to everybody.
Yes.
And so Jesus has those texts in his mind when this man raises his glass and says, thank you that we have the feast of the kingdom of God, and we get to be in that one day. And all these poor saps over here, well, they should have known better.
Yes.
Jesus tells a story. And the simple point of this story, the thing we take away, there are 2 points we're going to take away, but the first one, if you don't get the other one, let's get the first one. God's banquet invitation is for everyone. It's for everyone. Everyone is invited to this banquet. Now, you can choose not to come.
Yes.
You can choose not to accept God's invitation through Jesus Christ to start a new life with Him and find forgiveness for your sin and leadership for your life. You can choose not to accept that, but you will never get rid of the invitation because everybody's invited to God's banquet. But sometimes people forget.
Yes.
So Jesus tells the story of the man who makes the great feast. And he calls people when it's ready, because it's kind of like the Thanksgiving feast. You don't get it ready with the microwave. It takes hours, doesn't it?
Yes.
Tell me about it, ladies. It takes hours, doesn't it? It takes days. You men who are smoking the turkey, it takes days to get it just right.
Yes.
This banquet doesn't just happen. So the man gets the banquet ready, and he sends out the news to everyone. Come on. The banquet is ready.
Yes.
Now, we need to be fair to these next poor 3 guys. Because we give them a bad rap.
Yes.
These next 3 guys begin to make excuses, and we tend to think they're trying to get out of the banquet. No, what they're trying to do is trying to balance the priorities of a hard life. One of these folks says, I've just bought a field and I have to go see it. Well, lots of times the fields were all over the nation, and they had to go a long way to look. And if he's going to get that field planted so his family can eat and others can eat, he's got to go check it out. Maybe we need to give him a little bit of grace. This second guy, let's just imagine he's buying 5 yoke of oxen. He has to try them out. Let's just imagine that he's buying these oxen to replace some oxen that have fallen and broken their legs and cannot do the work in the field.
Oh,
If he doesn't get that work in the field done, his family doesn't eat.
Yes.
So he's got to get those oxen. He goes to U-Ox and rent an ox, and there's none left. There's no Ryder ox, Penske ox, they're out. It is Thanksgiving, there's nothing there. So he says, I'm going to bite the bullet, I'm going to buy me some oxen.
Yes.
And he goes and gets them to try them out because he knows this gamble, he's got to make this work. So maybe we can give him a little bit of grace too. And then my favorite guy.
Oh, my.
I just got married. I can't come. Everybody who's just got married, or everybody who's been married, knows what happened here. This poor guy fell right into what so many poor guys do. The mistake we all make when we just get married. This poor guy came home from the honeymoon. They're setting up their house. They've been living in the house for 2 weeks. And he says, "Oh, baby, remember, I've got to go to this banquet thing. You know, I'm going to be gone for a few days." She says, "What banquet?" She says, "What banquet?" "Oh, baby, don't you know? You remember I told you about it a few weeks back." "What banquet?" You ain't going to no banquet. And he says, but baby, I've got to go. I promised. I RSVP'd. He's counting on me. "Well, I'm coming too." "Well, no, babe. It's really more of a bachelor's banquet." And she says, "Oh, heck no. That ain't happening. You promised me you were going to paint the bathroom. You promised me we were going to get some things done. And we've got thank you notes to write." And oh, folks, beginner husband, right here. He says, "But baby, you're so much better at that stuff than me. I'll just hold you up." Oh, no. She slams the bedroom door and he's going, "What did I do?" The next thing you know, the master of the house gets this telegram, or this text in our world. "Please excuse me, I just got married. I can't come." We know how life works. This is possible that it happened that way. Just use your imagination there a little bit. But let's get to the heart of the story. These folks aren't accepting the invitation. But then Jesus tells them, "Let me tell you who's going to get invited. Let me tell you who's going to get invited." The master sends his servant out to find the crippled, and the lame, and the blind, and the hungry, and the poor, and the folks that didn't vote like him, and the folks that are from other areas of the country, and the folks that don't even speak English. And he goes and invites all those people, and he says, "The banquet is ready. Come accept my invitation." Now I want you to imagine, dear friends, for a second, what it felt like to be the Pharisees in that room here in that story. Because these Pharisees, you know what? They may have been arrogant. They may have been self-righteous. But they're not stupid.
That's right.
It didn't take them long to realize, say, wait a minute. This banquet picture Jesus is drawing, I'm not in it.
Wow. Wow.
I'm not in it.
Mercy, Lord.
But people that I wouldn't come near. But people that I wouldn't touch because they are unclean according to my interpretation of God's law. They are lesser than me according to my interpretation of God's law. Those people are getting in. Who is this guy?
Who?
Folks, if all Jesus had done was told people to love each other and be nice, he never would have been crucified.
Amen.
Because love isn't sentimental, love hurts. Love means we have to love people who are different than us that we don't understand. Love means we have to love people who vote differently than us and make us mad. Love means we have to love people who hurt us and are hard to forgive. Love means we have to love people who we don't like. Love means we have to love people who make us mad. Because Jesus tells us in Matthew 5, if you love people who like you and speak well of you, what? Big deal. Even the pagans do that. If you love people who treat you well, so what? Even the worst of the worst do that. You can be in a gang and be told that go and kill people. And you can love the people that love you. You can be in a dictatorship. and wipe out people by genocide. And you can still love the people that love you, or at least love the people who are working for you.
Yes.
That doesn't take anything, but we are called to love your enemy.
Yes.
To love people who persecute you, to pray for those who hurt you, and to love people who are different than you. That's what makes the church different.
Amen.
We are supposed to be people who love people where they are, and remember that everybody is invited. We don't get to choose. And can I just be honest, sometimes that's real hard for us white folks.
Hallelujah.
Right? I'm not black, but I can imagine it's probably hard for you sometimes too.
Yes.
And I'm not Hispanic. Poor Juan, he's been trying to teach me Spanish. My wife's a Spanish teacher, she's been trying even longer. But I can imagine it's hard for all of us.
Yes.
Friends, these folks got mad. And they killed Jesus for this message.
Yes.
They killed Jesus
Yes.
because he told them that no one was so far away
Amen.
that they couldn't accept God's invitation.
Yes.
Amen.
Friends, we live in a culture. We live in a culture
Yes.
where lots of folks would rather sequester themselves in their own groups
Yes.
than they would reach out and begin to love people who are different.
Amen.
Yes, amen.
Into this, too often, over the last decades, and over the last hundreds of years, too often, the church has been the Johnny-come-lately in this conversation.
Yes.
I read a book recently that my wife recommended to me about Prince Edward County. Being a New Virginian, I didn't know the story of Prince Edward County. I had no idea that Prince Edward County was one of 4 folks in the Brown versus Board of Education suit. I had no idea. Growing up where we grew up, we certainly know a lot about racial stuff where we grew up. But to realize how churches,
Yes.
white churches, stood against integration
Lord have mercy.
and stood against civil rights.
Yes.
Friends, too often we've been on the wrong side of the right things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And as brothers and sisters, black, white, Hispanic, whatever ethnicity we are, we do not want to be on the wrong side today because we need the church. We need the church to practice forgiveness, whether you're black or white, Hispanic or whatever you might be. We need people to practice forgiveness because guess what? The world's got enough hate. We don't need anymore. The parable, the great banquet, tells us that everybody is invited to God's banquet.
Yes.
Which means there's no room here for hate.
That's right.
We have to denounce it with our words, but more importantly, we have to denounce it with our actions.
Yes.
It was providential.
Yes.
It was providential, Brother Maxwell. And we've said this to each other. It was providential that months before Charlottesville, we had already had on our schedule that our churches were going to get together that next Sunday and play softball and eat food. You got to eat food. It is a banquet after all, right?
That's right.
With sweet tea. You better believe it, Juan. Thank you. You better believe it. It's a banquet after all, right?
Yes.
We have got to be peoples, black, white, Hispanic, whoever, who are ones who trumpet love and grace, and we have to trumpet it for everybody.
Yes.
Because that's what Jesus did. That's what Jesus was about. So friends, as we prepare for Thanksgiving,
Yes, Lord.
I want us to live into the words of the Lord's Prayer,
Yes, Lord.
where Jesus prayed and taught us to pray, your kingdom come, your will be done,
Yes.
on earth as it is in heaven. One of my favorite translations of that comes from John Ortberg. You know what he says that means? Make things down here like they are up there. Make things down here like they are up there. And you know what God did? God didn't just zap and make things down here like they are up there. He said, you know what? Why don't you guys go and make things down here like they are up there? I'll give you the power. I'll sit down. Go get it done. We're a part of making that happen. I heard a preacher, actually Juan and I were together at a conference a couple of years ago. Pastor Juan and I were together. And we heard a preacher from New Zealand share some things with us. And he said a statement that has stayed with me since then. And it's one that I use often in thinking about how people come together. He said, with our lives, we're either building tables or we're building fences.
All right.
We have to choose. And let me tell you, friends, it's a lot easier to build walls and fences than it is to build tables and fellowship. Because walls and fences, you can just wall off anybody you don't like. But when you build tables, you commit to sitting down and looking somebody in the eye and listening to their story even if you don't like it. When you're committing to building tables, you're committing to make sure that people keep gathering around. When you're committing to building tables in God's kingdom, you're committing to building tables not just with people who look like you and think like you, but you're committing to invite other people around the tables. Why? Because God's invitation is for everybody. It's for everybody. We build tables, not fences. You know, I told you that table at our house wasn't big enough. But we had one thing we could do. There's something that my parents didn't use often, but it was actually under the bed in their room. And one of my chores for Thanksgiving Day, it always was like this: hey Randy, go get the leaf.
That's right.
Go get the leaf. I didn't know what Mom was talking about the first time I went in the backyard. I went and looked up, got under the table, and you know what the leaf is. You pull the table out and you put an extra bit in there to make some more room. We are people who make more room at the table. Because, friends, we're the church of Almighty God. If we don't, who will? Who will? Friends, I love you. I look forward to us doing this again together. God bless you, and let's remember, by the grace of God, let's build some tables and stop building some tables.
Wow, was that a word? My goodness. We're called to love everyone. Whether they look like us or not. Whether they vote like us or not. My goodness. What a word to bring all these different people together on today. Just clap for yourself that you're here. I know they're doing a lot of arguing about football, but y'all put Jesus before football. Amen. Look at y'all. Y'all did the right thing. Amen. Amen. We thank God for Pastor Shepley. We thank God for Pastor Garcia. We thank God for Pastor Evans, Deacon McCarthy, and all the different people that made this possible. I know most of us, I'm about to say something wrong because you can't look saved. But most of us came from different churches, but you know, we in the Baptist tradition, you know, we're going to always open up the doors of the church. Is there one who may not have a relationship with Jesus, who wants to forge a relationship with Jesus right now? He loves you. He just told you there's room at the table. There's room